Guerra. I like that approach. Okay. All right, you ready for this special moment?
Yes, sir.
All right, you want to raise your right hand? Repeat after me. I, in your name,
I, Santino Guerra,
do swear or affirm
do swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
as a member of the Board of Trustees
as a member of the Board of Trustees
of Mott Community College
of Mott Community College
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
And further, that I'm also committed
and that I also am committed
to being respectful and courteous
to being respectful and courteous
to our president,
to our president,
my fellow trustees,
my fellow trustees,
and the entire community,
and the entire community,
even when we may have strong disagreements.
even when we may have strong disagreements.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations, Santino. We are so proud of you, and we're so happy to have you on board with us. Also, thank you to Judge Beagle for taking his time tonight to come out tonight and perform your oath. Okay, we're going to take attendance now. Diane?
Roll call for attendance. Trustee Daly.
Here.
Trustee Dotson. Here. Trustee Guerra.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Reyes.
Present.
Trustee Swanson is absent today. And Wendy Walcott serving as the chair for this meeting.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Before we start tonight, for most of you know that I just recently lost my husband, not even 2 weeks ago. So I just want to thank everyone for all the kind words and condolences that everyone has sent me, texted me, everyone that came to the funeral home and the burial. It's definitely, it's not easy. This isn't easy for me today to get up here, but I know that my husband would want me to show up and get up and get ready, and that's what I did today. I'm here for all of you because I know that this is what he would want. So thank you, everyone, for all your love that you've sent me. All right, next on the agenda, additions to the agenda. Any additions? Any additions? None? All right. Moving on, adoption of the agenda.
Move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Art made the motion. Kenyatta seconded it. Any discussion? All right, let's take this to a vote. Adoption of the agenda. Kenyatta?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Santino?
Yes.
Candace?
Yes.
Wendy, yes. Motion passes. All right, next we're going to do recognition of guests. Shonda, I'll let you take this one.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would like to call forward Robert Matthews, who will introduce our special guests here with us this evening.
Good evening, Madam President, Madam Chairperson, and trustees. I have the pleasure of introducing a few special guests this evening. First, I'd like to bring forward Tom Salins. I believe, Tom is here. Tom, come on down. Please. So Tom Salins served as the site director for our Northern Tier and Lapeer Extension Centers. I'd like to celebrate Tom this evening for his recent feature in the Lapeer County Press. And as you all know, Lapeer is a very special place for us, and we're making sure that we do some exciting things there under Tom's leadership. But Tom had an opportunity to share through a story that they did how community colleges empower people, and a bit about his personal journey. And if I could, I'd like to just share a quick quote, and then I'll ask Tom if he wants to share some comments. But this is from Tom, which I thought was pretty special. If I can make a difference in even one person's life, that's enough. Life isn't about money or certificates, it's about relationships. Also, helping others has a ripple effect. When you throw a stone into a pond, you don't just affect one person. You affect everyone who comes in contact with that person. One person having a successful life helps others get a better life. So working at a college has a big impact, and I'm proud of that, and making positive impacts on the lots of people's lives. So we appreciate Tom's leadership and all of the things that he's doing to impact students and the community in Lapeer and the community in Clio. And we like to celebrate him even more so than the Lapeer County Press. So if we could give Tom. Tom, would you like to share?
Oh, sure. I appreciate the recognition. I enjoy working at the college. It's been 26 years. I know you're trying to get rid of me, but I'm not gone yet. So I appreciate it. I love the Lapeer community. I live there. So it's been a good relationship, and they do a lot of good things in Lapeer. Clio, too. You know, both of those communities are really Mott strong, Mott supporters. They really love what we do there, and it is really easy to be a site manager there, and I hope I had a positive impact, and I appreciate you guys bringing me forward. Very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next honoree is one of our students who could not be with us this evening, but Julius Bitterman has been selected as one of the inaugural 2025 Chime Workforce Scholars and will receive a $1,000 scholarship along with that honor. This scholarship is a new scholarship that is being provided by Phi Theta Kappa, which of course is the National Honor Society for two-year colleges. Chime scholars are selected based on outstanding academic achievement, engagement, leadership potential, and career readiness. This year, $200,000 in scholarships were provided to 200 students at community colleges to cover traditional educational expenses like tuition, but in addition, the funds can be used to support any certification fees, uniforms, or tools that the student might need to be successful. So we like to celebrate Julius for this achievement. And our next honoree is also one of our students, and is Kennedy Harris. Was Kennedy able to make it? So Kennedy Harris is a student in our STEM Scholars Program. The STEM Scholars Program supports students who would like to do extra in terms of research related to science, technology, engineering, and/or mathematics. This program is supported with funding through the National Science Foundation. And it's really, I think it's a really special program and a special honor that our students really have this chance to do research. And so you'll pay special attention to the heavy sort of work that our students are doing. Kennedy will be presenting at the National STEM Scholars Meeting in San Diego on the interaction of specific types of protein in salmonella. And so we want to congratulate Kennedy as well as the coordinator for our scholars program, Jessica Bixel, for all of the great things that our students are doing. Thank you.
Chairwoman
And-
Wolcott,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a question. Is there a copy of the article written by Tom Saline? Okay. Thank you.
We'll email that separately to each trustee. Okay. And next, I am very excited to introduce to the board the fall 2025 cohort of the Student Presidential Advisory Council. And to help me do that is Marcus Matthews. And council members, could you please come forward and you can stand at the table.
Come on down, guys. Come on down. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, Madam President. So as Sean just said, our president, it is my honor to introduce our fall 2025 Student Presidential Advisory Council members. Each fall and winter semester, 10 students are selected from a competitive process to represent our student body as a liaison between the students and our president and executive team. These students you have in front of you today were those who were selected, and they get the benefit of extra support from Student Life. They get to do some extra podcast projects, surveys, but most importantly, they meet monthly with our president to share what the students are experiencing. So as a little practice for talking, I'm going to let them each introduce themselves and share their major, and then we'll let two of them share a little bit about what the Student Presidential Advisory Council means to them. So we'll go ahead, we'll start over here. Name and major.
Hi, I'm Caden Baker, and I'm getting an Associate's in General Studies.
My name is Jacob Middaugh, and I am currently studying culinary arts.
Hello, my name is Teresa Zaidan, and I'm studying computer information systems.
Hello, my name is Angel Coulter, and I'm studying marketing management.
Hi, my name is Grace Ingram, and I'm getting my Associates in Arts.
Hello, everybody. My name is Peace Aja. I'm in the nursing program.
Hello, Andre Hood in respiratory therapy.
All right, and Peace and Andre, why don't you come on and take these 2 seats, and they're going to give you a little bit about what the Student Presidential Advisory Council means to them. Go ahead, Andre and Peace.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you tonight. The Student Presidential Advisory Council, which is also known as the SPAC, is a select group of students chosen each semester to act as a direct communication between the student body and the president of the college. Our role is to bring forward the student voice, to ensure the student perspectives are represented in decision-making, and to build bridges between students and campus leadership.
We meet regularly with the president and the Office of Student Life to talk through campus issues, share feedback, and brainstorm solutions. Each member also takes part in projects that goes beyond discussion and create tangible change. For example, members of SPAC help design and launch student surveys so we can collect input from the wider campus community. We also work on initiatives such as the Bear Blast podcast, which highlights student experiences and raises awareness of resources and opportunities at Mott Community College. In addition, we support peer-to-peer student services, where SPAC members dedicate time each week to helping other students navigate college and success here.
Every member of the SPAC also commits to completing 20 hours of community service each semester. This ensures that our leadership is rooted in service and that we remain closely connected to the needs of both the campus and the wider Flint community. Beyond individual contributions, we also work together on a college-wide project each semester. This project allows us to collaborate as a team, apply what we are learning, and deliver something meaningful for the student body. They also demonstrate to our peers that SPAC is not just about conversation, but about making real improvements to the student experience.
Being part of SPAC is both a leadership opportunity and a responsibility. Students learn how to advocate respectfully, how to work with administration, and how to take an idea from conversation to action. The council also provides professional development for members, preparing them for future careers and for civic engagement beyond college. Most importantly, SPAC strengthens the student experience at Mott Community College. By giving students a voice at the table, we help ensure that programs, resources, and decisions truly meet the needs of those we serve.
In short, SPAC is not just a student group. It is a partnership between students and leadership, built to make Mott a stronger, more responsive, and more connected community. We are proud to represent our peers in our role and look forward to continuing the work of building a campus where every student feels heard, supported, and empowered. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and Madam President.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, moving on. Communications, Jordan.
The board received in their agenda packet two memos from the City of Grand Blanc, the first being dated on August 21st, 2025, regarding the annual reports for 2025, and then the second is for August 22nd, regarding Grand Blanc City PA 210 of 2005 application, La Piazza Group LLC, for your review.
Thank you, Jordan. Are there any comments from the public?
There's one public comment. The first one is submitted by Bobby Walton of Davison, Michigan, on the topic of planning, strategy, and implementation.
Good evening. If I didn't show up, you wouldn't have anybody. I came tonight to talk to you about the strategic planning process because we've talked about it before, but it's a very important process that you've undertaken. And I have participated at 2 levels. I did participate by completing your survey, and I attended a meeting last Friday, the work session, where we were invited to give ideas and share what we thought needed to be considered. I remembered that when I spoke with you at the kickoff for the strategic planning, I said you must focus on the students because that is the most important person on the campus. And I'm really happy to see this advisory council. I think it's important for there to be a liaison between administration and the student body. There were many things that we talked about last Friday that I think also are important regarding the implementation of any strategic planning you may have. When Santino took his oath, I was pleased to see that there was something added about respecting each other. It reminded me of when I was baptized because one of the important promises I made was to respect the dignity of every human being. And that's something that I try to do, even though I may come and criticize you, and I will, because I make a very strong statement in my life that the public needs to participate in the governing. If the public doesn't participate in the governing, they're very shocked when it gets out of hand and they don't know what's going on and they feel helpless because they can't do anything to change things. It takes a long time to bring things back where they need to have been all along, which is why I have committed myself in my retirement in the last 2.5 years to come here at every meeting and speak to you about things that I think you need to consider. When I received my master's degree, I spoke to the head of my government department and thanked him and the rest of the faculty for giving me a good education. And he said to me, "We didn't give you a good education, you educated yourself." And I believe in thinking about it that I did, because I chose the courses I took. I did the work that was required. I made sure that I knew the people I had to speak to when I needed guidance. And I made sure that it fit into my life. So my aim is to make sure that the students who are here are able to give themselves a good education. And for that reason, everything that you're planning to do in your strategic planning is very important as far as implementation goes. Because you can make plans and you can give words and you can make beautiful charts. But if there's no implementation, these are things that wind up sitting on a shelf and collecting dust. The thing about accountability is important. The thing about checking in from time to time is very important. So I think that Mott College has to refocus every time that you get off on talking about how you're going to do things, bring it right back to the students. When I was working in Maryland, one year we did a budget for our county, and I was a chief of staff for one of the elected legislators in our county and worked on the budgets every year with them. And the year that we had a woman who was the president of our council, and she was very strong on education. And she said, "This year we're going to produce a budget that focuses on the children." And so every department and every agency and every office in the county was required, when they submitted their budget request, to give detailed information on how that budget and the expenditures they required would affect the children in the county. And I think it's a good idea, and I will remind you, is when you're going through your strategic planning, when you're going through your budgeting, and all of the things that you will be doing in the next 3 years, because that's when your strategic plan is supposed to be covering, is how does this impact on the students? One of the jobs I did, because I've worked with students and I've worked with educators over my lifetime, I did a lot of research on, and I researched a lot of things that other people did research on, and the issue of young people who are struggling whether their challenges are because of their family, because of monetary needs, because of language, because any of the things that we bring with us when we come to college or any school, they're in danger if they don't feel like that they can accomplish anything, if they don't feel like they can overcome whatever the challenges are. And it was found that students that kept classes together, especially in the early elementary years, first, second, third, fourth grade, the students that were in danger were kept together with the same teacher for the first 3 or 4 years of school. And that gave them a family, a cohesive group. I urge you to look at how within your campus opportunities that given what you are currently going to be bringing into your curriculum more and more is the technology of online education. When you're online to take classes or to study anything, it's difficult. I mean, it's been a while since I've done that, but you don't have the personal contact with the other people in the room that share your thinking. You don't have the personal contact with your instructor. You don't have the feeling of cohesiveness. So I urge you to reach outside your technical, the technical part of your education and figure out ways that these things can be brought about for the students, whether it's in their clubs, whether it's in their activities, whether it's in the counseling where they can come if they need some kind of guidance or some kind of support, whether it's in making sure the library is open. I think one of the two things I've heard is that the library hours have been reduced and you've also closed your bookstore. The bookstore is now online and the library has limited hours. When you closed down your computer center so that the students could go use the computers and now they're required to go to the library to use computers, it seems to me that you need to pay attention to that. Needs to be student friendly. If there's nothing else you do in your strategic planning, make it student friendly. And because I feel like you're under a time crunch, the time crunch that you set, and the participation that has been lacking regarding public participation in this process, that you need to reconsider the time crunch you've set for yourself and do a better job of bringing in more interest and more information and more outreach from your community, including your students. And I also believe that, and I go back to the financing, you are probably going to be coming to the public for an additional millage. And if the public doesn't feel like they belong here, if they don't feel like this is part of their community, if they don't feel like that this college is actually producing what they want them to produce, then for you to get a millage passed is going to be very difficult and you're not going to be able to meet your financial obligations. So I urge you to rethink what you're doing, change your time crunch, make it extended a month or 2 or more, or maybe 3. Make sure as a board that you know exactly how this strategic planning is going to be implemented so that people can be held accountable for what they're making promises that they will do for the students at Mott College and the community that supports you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Okay, moving on. There's no consent agenda tonight, so we're going to move on to approval of minutes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting on August 25th, 2025 be tabled.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to table approval of regular board minutes for August 25th, 2025. John did the motion. Can you add a second? Let's take it to a vote.
Nope, we'll
No,
go to
Art-
discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion, yeah.
Art second, not me.
I'm looking at this as trying to close this out as accurately as possible. And one of the things that concerns me is if you go down into the third paragraph as it is, just from the bottom, where it's talking about what was said and done, it makes the statement in here that the results of this investigation was already made known to the board by other written material. And one of the problems in this whole evolution is the lack of written material. And so I would request that we table this till the next meeting so that the written material can be attached to the minutes to fully define this and bring this matter to a close.
I'm trying to find where.
Down here, it's at the 287. I'm on page 287.
Okay, which paragraph?
Third paragraph. Go to the third line from the bottom. In other written material. Otherwise, this is about as vague as it can be.
I'm still not seeing. I'm on the third paragraph down.
Third paragraph down.
What does the sentence start with?
Well, the sentence starts with, in the middle of the paragraph, with Chair Swanson advised the board that Chair Everman had conducted his own investigation and that this investigation was already made known to the board in other written material, and that he had spoken with Chair Everman about as well to confirm the results of this investigation. And all I'm asking for is that that written material that's referenced in there be included in the minutes.
I don't think the minutes accurately reflect. I don't remember there being conversation about him saying. I remember your point that there was no written material.
I know, I understand that.
But I don't remember Jeff saying that there was written material. So I think that it's inaccurate as written.
Carrie, is there any way you can step up here on this one?
Okay, sure. Yes. My understanding as to the source of the ambiguity and the misunderstanding is that the other material refers to, although not very clearly here, to Chair Swanson's reference to the Higher Learning Commission conclusion. I don't remember either. Well, the chair stating that there was other material from Chair Everman. And does anyone remember the Chair Swanson stating that there was written material from Chair Swanson, from Chair Everman? Because I do not.
Well, here.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, excuse me, I'm sorry. Can I speak? If that's the case, then this gets even more ambiguous because the Higher Learning Commission did their investigation. I've talked to the attorneys that were involved in it. They did their investigation as a violation of their bylaws, not ours, theirs. And when you compare them, they are grossly different. And my point in filing the complaint in January was that, first of all, to get past the fact that people were saying there'd never been a written complaint. Okay, there was a written complaint, I made it. The second thing was that the HLC investigation dealt with the HLC bylaws, not the bylaws of the college. My belief at this point, and I'm saying this is my belief, is that there never has been an investigation that was done with regards to a violation of the bylaws. And if there is, then I want to see it.
Well, the issue before us, as I understand it, is whether the minutes are accurate on this point or whether they should be amended or tabled. The motion before us is whether they should be tabled. You could resolve potentially the issue before us, the issue of whether the minutes are accurate and therefore would need or not need to be tabled, by making reference to what Chair Swanson made reference to, and that is where it states was already made known to the board in other written material, parenthesis, the HLC's conclusion, end parenthesis. Then it would accurately reflect and fully reflect what Chair Swanson said on the issue.
Wendy?
I think we should table it and wait until Jeff gets here, and let's see what Jeff meant by that. He's not here today.
Yeah, because there's some changes that need to be made there. The result of this investigation, which investigation? So,
Seeking resolution to this, all I'm looking for is proof that there was an investigation done, and it was an investigation that was done with regards to violation of the college's bylaws. That was my complaint.
So John, did you want to table it or postpone this until the next meeting? Okay.
As long as Trustee Reyes agrees, that's what he was seconding to.
I concur.
Okay, so we're postponing this until the next meeting, and it's going to be approval of regular meeting minutes for August 25th, 2025. So we'll take this to a vote. Kenyatta?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
John?
Yes?
Santino?
Yes.
Candace? And myself, yes. Moving on, I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of special meeting minutes for August 20th and 26th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? We'll take this to a vote. Candace?
Yes.
Santino?
Yes.
John? Art?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Moving forward to new business, individual items. We're going to call Larry up for this one. 1.73, Shonda.
Yes, Larry Gothrop will introduce our special guest from Clark Construction.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are you looking for a motion?
Madam President.
Are you looking for a motion to bring it to the floor?
If you want us to do it that way. I wasn't going to do the motion until afterwards.
Okay, however you sure want to do it.
Good evening, trustees. Welcome, Trustee Guerra. We have tonight with us Nick Henney and Corey Scheck. Casey Scheck, I'm so sorry, from Clark Construction. They're a construction company that was retained for the Prahl renovation. But before I introduce them, I'd like to do a very brief background of the Prahl project. So the Prahl College Center was constructed in 1971 as a Genesee Community College Student Center. The building has been the central hub of information for all students and in need of mechanical upgrades and technological modernization for our students. In 2019, the college addressed this need and sought outside funding assistance for the complete design overhaul and upgrades totaling $32.5 million. The college was able to secure $12.5 million from the C.S. Mott Foundation and $12.5 million from the state of Michigan through the DTMB capital outlay process. The remaining $7.5 million will be funded from the college's bonds. The college requested RFPs for the construction manager for this project and selected Clark, which was approved by the board in November 2024. The construction bids and evaluations are now complete and are being brought forward for board approval. And one final thing before I do turn it over to them. Rod, would you come up, please? I really want to give recognition to Rod. I think, as you all know, he is our Executive Director of Facilities. He has been instrumental in getting this project to where we're at. This has been 6 years, so it's been a long time coming, and Rod, thank you for everything that you've done.
Well, thank you, Larry. Good evening. Thanks for having us. We just have a quick presentation. I think, Jordan, you're operating the controller there, so appreciate that. Again, I just wanted to start out by saying, again, thank you. As Larry mentioned, it's been a while since this project, I think, has been officially a go. 2019 seems like forever ago, but here we are. We're excited about it. So just wanted to share a little bit about the results, and if you want, just to go to the next slide. So I first wanted to just start out by saying, or just introducing who Clark is. Just a couple quick kind of highlights. We've been in business, it'll be 80 years now, starting next year. When I first started, 14 years ago now, which is crazy to even think about, we had roughly 125 employees. We are now upward of 400 plus employees. So we are growing. We have been growing. We're approaching $850 million a year in revenue. We have been voted, this is kind of exciting, for the last 5 years in a row, Crane's business #1 place to work, best places to work. So we take great pride in that. Next slide. So I want to introduce myself officially. Nick Henny, serving as a Senior Project Manager, Market Lead. There's just a number of projects I've worked on, most notably here in Flint, the Kettering Learning Commons, if you're familiar with that project. That was completed. Myself and Casey worked on that one. I won't go through all the projects. There's quite a few. But as a market leader, I focus all of my efforts with Clark Construction on the higher ed market. So all I work with is universities and college primarily. So out of my 16 years in the construction business, I tallied this up the other day, and it's kind of staggering. I roughly have $715 million worth of higher ed projects under my belt so far, and obviously some are still ongoing, and roughly $250 million in DTMB capital outlay projects. Graduated Ferris State University, business degree, technology degree in construction management. I'll let Casey introduce herself.
Good evening, thanks for having us here. I'm Casey Schick, Assistant Project Manager. I've been with Clark Construction for 6 years. I've been in the construction industry for 10. I've also had a handful of higher education projects under my belt as well at Central Michigan University. And as Nick said, we completed the Kettering University Learning Commons project together in 2022, that was. And that was started off during COVID, so if you can imagine the experiences that we had with that project, it was a very good learning experience for us. I've also completed projects for Dow Chemical, the Greater Midland Community Center. I'm a director on the National Association of Women in Construction, Lansing chapter. And I went to Michigan State University where I graduated and got my bachelor's degree.
So I also wanted to just mention, even though we don't have an office here in Flint, we do an awful lot of work here in Flint. As we mentioned, Kettering University, just the Learning Commons being one of those specific projects, but also we've been on their Mobility Research Center and also their boardroom projects. We've really been there for quite some time doing smaller work as needed for them as well. And just as of recent, these projects are actually ongoing, and if you've watched the news or been following the Governor Whitmer around for the last couple days, we just cut our ribbon on the Flint Schools, the CUBE project, which is pretty exciting for the community. Another couple projects, Genesee ISD Early Learning Childhood Center, Flint Schools Doyle Ryder, and as we were building the Learning Commons project, we had the Flint Library as a project as well, and this one dates back a little bit, but Fern Co. Was another project that we've completed here in Genesee County. which wanted to take some time to touch on our bid process throughout this project. As Larry mentioned, we solicited bids, and in the avenue to do that, we used our Building Connected program. What that is an online service that helps us solicit our bids. There's just a couple snapshots of what that looks like. The bids get submitted electronically. They're sealed, and they can't be opened until the time of bids being due, okay? And another process we used to get the word out there for our bid advertisement, we used, Mott uses BidNet Direct, so we actually put out a bid advertisement through that as well to get any more local contractors or interests that we might have missed. So we use that as well. And as Larry mentioned as well, this is DTME state-funded project, so there's pretty strict criteria when it comes to bidding and selecting bidders and selecting low bidders. So we're following by those guidelines as are outlined in the state DTMB capital outlay manual. Just to continue with our bid process, so we have a number of different checks and balances we perform as a company when we receive bids. There's the last really 2 weeks straight, every day we've been parked over at Prahl on the second floor, myself, Casey, and Jackie, interviewing all the respective low bidders, and sometimes even interviewing the second or third low just to make sure everyone has an apples to apples bid. And how we do that is again, this is just a number of different items that we check for. Bid scope clarifications, qualifying anything that they might have maybe missed that we find out when we sit down with them. And these meetings typically last an hour, depending on the scope. Some last an hour and a half on the larger scopes to make sure we cover. And we have a number of specific scope items that we go over, and we make sure they have every single one of those, so we ensure that they have a complete bid and complete scope. We review schedule and milestones. We reconcile trade hours to make sure that the trade hours they submitted with their bid make sense. We have a pretty extensive database that helps us determine that, and we want to make sure that they're accurate in those trade hours, because if they're way low or they're way high, usually their price reflects if they're way high. But if they're way low, that's usually a red flag, and we want to question that and get to the bottom of that. We also review our site logistics and site safety requirements as well. So now the exciting part. As you see here, we just compiled our bid packages all on one sheet just to show where we are or where we started. So we're at 29,923 and some change is our budget estimate, and our bids came in at 24,760. So we are really looking really good. That's roughly a 4.6%, 4.1% under budget when it comes to the hard construction costs, which is exciting because as of recent, numbers haven't come in like this. As you can imagine, there's been, the market's been pretty volatile, and with COVID, I think we're all past COVID, but a lot of these bigger mega projects have either come to an end or got cut for some reasons or another. And I think a lot of contractors are really looking at that and trying to fill their backlog. So they're really getting aggressive, which makes numbers come in really, really well. So to touch on some of our bid results, we put some stats together. 41 local bidders. When I say local, those are Genesee County companies were invited to bid this project. We had 86 total bids received, and 22 of them were out of those local companies. So local Genesee County companies submitted a bid, and 4 out of the 22 were the apparent lows, and we listed a couple of those there. William E. Walters was the responsible low for the mechanical and plumbing and HVAC package. Eagle Excavating was low for the site and civil. DF Flooring for the flooring contractor. and E&L Construction Group for our general requirements package. And just to put, again, just a recap of the budget versus actual bids that came in, totaling that variance under 1.1 and some change. And I will say the participation was pretty exceptional, in my opinion. We had a handful of contractors in one specific category. I think we had 8, actually, like 8 bids in one general trades package, which is, we usually like to have 3 to 5, just to consider that a competitive bid. But having 8 was kind of eye-opening and exciting for us. This project got a lot of interest, so that's something to be proud of. And we just wanted to bring it all together just to show the overall project budget. As Larry mentioned, we have $32.5 million to play with. 12.5 of that is state-funded money. So we wanted to make sure and bring everything together and show that we are, in fact, in budget and have a healthy contingency as well. Roughly 6% on a project of this size is good industry standard for contingency before we start a project. And being a heavy renovation project, being built in 1971. So you're looking at a 54-year-old building that is going to have some gifts for us when we start opening it up. We want to make sure we have enough contingency there to help take care of any of those unforeseen conditions when it comes to abatement and demo. And the project's really scoped correctly. When we want to do renovations, this is how we like to do them. We take them down to their bare skeleton and we build them back as new. So it's a really clean scope, and we feel as if with the numbers and the contractors here that we have listed, it's going to be a very successful one as well. Just wanted to capture the timeline. This is a bit outdated. The "we are here" actually needs to be shifted over. It's obviously the 22nd. We're at the Board of Trustees meeting for approval. So that's where we are as of today. Next steps would be the approval process here tonight, and tomorrow we will, start the move-out process and making sure all of our permits and things are in place, and issue contracts to our responsible low bidders. That takes a bit of time as well to do all that. And our start construction date has moved based on, I believe the bookstore needed till the end of October to have starting their move-out process. So the project start will be November 10th and a completion of fall of 27. So roughly a 21 to 22 month build. And with that, I will open it up to any questions the board may have.
John?
Thank you for that overview. You showed us this on the spreadsheet with subs. You showed us the local vendors that the number of local vendors that has been solicited, and then there were, I think, 4 that came out with awards. How many of your low bidders are from out of Michigan? Any?
Out of state?
Out of state, yeah.
0.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Santino?
Yeah, so it's considered a renovation, and I know I'm new, so I may have missed some questions prior to this meeting. But will any of the center be operational while construction is going?
No, for safety of anyone that planned on being in the building, I mean, with a renovation this heavy, it will be vacated. That date of November 7th actually is when move out needs to be complete, and that means everyone's moved out into the swing space, which is a number of different areas, I believe, on campus that will house staff and students. But no, it will not be occupied once we start.
Okay, and then for operations, too, whatever faculty can answer, do we have locations for all those programs to be moved to?
Yes, we do. Shonda, do you want to answer that question? where everyone's moving to.
I don't even know specifically where, but everybody does have a home.
So we are relocating all of the current residents in the Prahl to the Family Life Center. And we did some preliminary basic renovation to the lower level of the building. And Rod is here if he can provide a little bit more details about the space that has been prepared to bring the employees from the Student Success Service Center. That includes all of the admissions and enrollment, registration, advising, financial aid, and all of those teams will be co-located at the Family Life Center.
Thank you. And then the last one, I know you guys have built a lot of projects, right? I've seen your list. I know we're in a college campus, and I know that noise can get distracting. Is there anything you guys are doing that wasn't like highlighted to minimize the distractions for students?
Well, as we are directly in the heart of your campus, with this, and realizing that we have a pretty elaborate logistics plan, and as part of that plan, that includes our site fencing. So we'll have, a privacy fence, and that's not like a orange fence that you see at on some side street that someone's doing an excavation on. It's going to be a 6 foot tall chain link fence. A lot of it's going to be post driven, so it's basically going to be a permanent fence, but temporary. So we're separating ourselves from the campus life that way. We also are putting in some temporary sidewalks around this construction site, so traffic flow of students on foot can get to where they need to. As for noise, we do have specific working hours. Like if there's going to be some heavy equipment or heavy work, and maybe it makes sense for that work to get done earlier in the morning to avoid any distractions there may be. We also are hyper-focused on any of the finals weeks. Those are important, so maybe there's an opportunity where we make sure that there's no noisy work going on for that week, so students are studying, and it's number one, student safety and student life. That's what we're trying to do our best to become invisible, but it's really tough when we're right in the center of campus, right? But we will do our best at whatever means are necessary for that.
I appreciate the feedback on that, and I know that's important, and I'm glad to hear those are being implemented.
No worries.
Okay, also we would like to address, Dr. Daly, your question from the topical session last week related to the networking, the infrastructure, and how we're going to approach that with the rebuilding of the new interior. Kirk Yaros, Chief Technology Officer.
Thank you. Yes, so as part of the design process, all of the floor plans were given to some ITS folks, and they reviewed those for locations of various data drops, wireless access points, and security cameras. So those were all identified, and those were included in the bid package for the low voltage.
And I know this is a difficult question to answer, that, we do a project like this and it won't be something that we're going to do every year. So are the fixes that we're going to be in, is there architecture, do you believe, are we going to have enough broadband to support future needs?
Yeah, the networking capacity for the building is actually fed from other areas. So the wiring going into this building is going to be as latest and greatest as we can have at this point.
Any other questions? Kenyatta?
I'm just wondering, for contractual workers and vendors, do we have everyone do a conflict of interest form?
Specifically related to this project?
I would say any projects, just to disclose any conflicts that they may have. So I don't know if it happened in this case and if it happens in others.
So I know Clark is working through all of the bidders. Is that related to any of the onboarding process that you use for subcontractors?
Based on state of Michigan, DTMB, capital outlay criteria, we're responsible to take the responsible low bidder. If there would be ever a conflict of interest, if they're the low bidder, I guess I don't know if there would be anything on our end that we would need to do or have to do. I would think more if there's a conflict of interest, like if a board member like worked for Clark, that would be a conflict of interest, but I don't believe there's anyone that we have as an apparent low that works for a company that might also work for Mott as well, if that helps. I'm maybe not answering your question, I apologize, but.
No, not really. I think just being able to identify, having a conflict of interest, you said you don't know if someone is related or if there's any types of relationships that are happening or if any discussions took place prior to. I mean, I think just having conflict of interest just to disclose that information will cover us all around.
Understood. I believe there was a question as well about our insurance and how our SDI works. So I've got a little bit of just some bullet points on that. So SDI is subcontractor default insurance. So on a normal project, and there's only a select few companies that are part of an SDI program, usually the larger companies in Michigan or larger companies nationally are a part of this, and you have to have a pretty healthy financial statement and backlog in order to be part of a program. There's a pretty strict criteria to have a subcontractor default policy. Clark's one of those companies. So what that means is instead of a trade contractor going out and pulling a surety bond or a payment and performance bond directly, we pull that for them on behalf of all of our contractors. So what that does is on a project of this size, it's usually 1% to 2% for a contractor to individually bond themselves. For our SDI program, it's at a fixed rate of 1.25%. So it's really a cost neutral program. And the benefits of that are, and this is real things that happen. We've had 4 contractors in the state of Michigan just this year go belly up, have had to close their doors on projects that we've been on. Our SDI program, we can step in immediately with our policy and our insurance provider to fulfill the rest of the contract, and say the roofer goes out of business on Wednesday. On Thursday, we can react with our SDI program to bring in a new roofer and negotiate and get the job done with very, very minimal delay, if any. If an individual roofing contractor would have their own bond pulled, it's typically a 2 to 3, potentially 4-month ordeal with their bonding company, depending on who they are, to actually get another contractor on site and perform that work. So we are able to react next day if something was like that was to occur. A lot of our contractors have to go through a very strict pre-qualification process in order to be part of that program as well. So we have SDI in this project. We intend to enroll all our contractors in that policy. So I know there was a question about that, I believe, at the topical session. I just want to make sure I covered that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Put your mic on, John. Your microphone. Turn your microphone on.
I move approval of item Roman numeral 10, 1.73.
Second.
Any discussion? I know Santino just got up really quick. He went to go grab some water. Should I hold off for his vote?
Take him last.
We'll wait a second. He went to go grab some water. Just a second, and then we'll vote. So there's a motion and a second to approve item 1.73, Prahl Center Building Renovation Purchase Award. We'll take this to a vote. Kenyatta?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Santino?
Yes.
Candace?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion passes. Moving on to 1.74, Treasurer's Report for August 2025. Larry?
Okay, hello again. So we're 2 months into the fiscal year. Total revenues and transfers for the 1 month was about 5.2 million. A year-to-date, 26.4 million. Total general fund expenditures and transfers out, 6.3 for the month of August million, and 12.4 or 12.5 year-to-date, rounded. Year-to-date tuition revenues are outpacing both the budget and actuals from the prior year. Year-to-date expenditures are in line with budget amounts and comparative to the prior year. You'll see one significant change on the balance sheet. That's the accrued payroll, and it is up, and it's due to the required GASB disclosure and recording of a sick pay liability for the short term, the 12 months. Total assets, 35.9 million. In August of 2024, it was 32.5. Total liabilities, 9.1 million, and last August, it was 6.9 million. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, I move we receive the report.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We'll take this to a vote. Item 1.74, Treasurer's Report for August 2025. Candace?
Is this a vote already?
This is a vote.
Okay, yes.
Santino?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Moving forward, 1.75, resolution to approve best practices initiatives, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I move approval of Roman numeral 10, item 1.75.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We'll take it to a vote. Kenyatta?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a discussion. Any discussion on that? No discussion?
I got one, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this was the discussion in topical. Did we get an official date on when the state wants this by?
No, it comes with, normally with the budget, which they have not passed as of today, so September 30th, and they still haven't passed it, so. No, we are going with, based on past history and what we've known to be, trying to get ahead of it, and trying to avoid any special meetings. So the question to your answer is no, we do not have that yet, sorry.
I appreciate it, thanks.
But what we're doing is consistent with past practice.
It is 100% consistent.
Okay, so for 1.75, John made the motion and Art seconded that. So we'll take this to a vote then. Kenyatta?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Santino?
Yes.
Candace?
Yes.
And myself, yes. New business 1.76, Gorman Mechanical System Upgrade Purchase Award.
Thank you. Board, Chair, Madam President. This is for Gorman Boiler Chiller Upgrade. The Gorman Science Center was first established in 1958 as the Flint Junior College Science and Technology Building. The last major renovation was completed in 1995, in which part of the HVAC system was upgraded. In 2004, a chiller was added to the building. Currently, the HVAC system is at end of life and due for improvements. Mott Community College sent out an RFP for bids and received 5 proposals. Johnson Wood was the lowest at $2,005,602. I would also like to add, kind of building on what Clark had mentioned, this is the 3rd project that the college has went out for RFPs for construction, and everyone has come in under budget at this point of projected budget.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move we approve 1.76.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Art made the motion, Candace seconded that. We'll take this to a vote. John?
Yes.
Santino?
Yes.
Candace?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Kenyatta?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, next we're moving along to the president's report. Shonda?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Madam Vice Chairwoman. I would like to see if Chief Zeckman, yes, is still in the room. This is not on the agenda currently, but I do want to give her the opportunity to share a bit with you about the new 2025 annual security report. She and the department put a lot of work into accumulating this information and compiling the annual report. So I did just want to give her a moment to talk to you a little bit about the process that they use, the information that's shared in it, and also give you a chance to ask any questions. And of course, if you have any questions next week after you've had a longer period of time to look it over, we welcome them at any time. Chief Zeckman.
Thank you, Shonda. Good evening, everybody. In front of you, I've placed the 2025 annual security report that's required by the Clery Act in the Department of Education. This year, in the 2024 category, we were responsible for tracking Clery crimes. Clery crimes are specific crimes designated under the Clery Act that include aggravated assault, arson, burglary, dating violence, domestic violence, drug law violations, hate crimes, illegal weapons possession, liquor law violations, manslaughter by negligence, motor vehicle theft, murder and non-negligent manslaughter, retaliation, robbery, sexual assault, which includes rape, fondling, incest, and statutory rape, and stalking. For the year 2024, we, as a campus, had to claim stats for 1 arson, 2 stalkings, 1 domestic violence, and 2 motor vehicle thefts. Each year, we work with several divisions on campus to gather and track data, which includes stats from Title IX, Wanda Brown's area, athletics, student life, all across campus. So we receive input as a department to put this together each year and to make sure that we are in compliance with the Clery Act. This is officially required by October 1st by the Department of Ed, but since we had it available and ready, I wanted to hand it out to you this evening. It's already been updated on our campus website, our Department of Public Safety website, so you can access an electronic version as well. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one question.
Go ahead.
So this is coming to us just for information?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is required by Clery Act to publish this annually, all colleges and universities that receive federal funding.
But it does not require board approval.
Quick question for you. I noticed that we have it broken down by various sites. Is there a summary page that gives us an overall? Or, we just have to...
Unfortunately, you have to thumb through each location.
Okay.
We're a fortunate campus. We have a lot of campus geography to include on our report. All Clery geographies included, which is culinary arts, Wagner, Northern Tier, Southern Lakes, Lapeer, Disability Services, main campus. There's a lot.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kenyatta?
Is the idea to get these to every student, every community partner? What's the thought around marketing these?
So every year, annually, we will put out a campus notification to the entire campus community that's available on our website. And if somebody wants a physical copy, we can get them a copy as well. that notification will probably go out later this week because it's due next week.
Okay, thank you. Are students receiving these as well?
Yes, they received the link to the electronic version.
Okay. Thank you.
And so do potential students as well, so, yeah.
Santino?
Yeah, nice to meet you, Chief.
Nice to meet you.
So how does our numbers overall for the last fiscal year compare to other local community colleges? And then what are we doing differently compared to them?
Well, other local community colleges, just define local.
We were to go just like metro areas by us, so like Oakland, for example, or other ones within 50
Okay.
miles.
So we're fortunate here that we do not have residential housing on our campus. So with that, I do see less Clery crimes than campuses that do have housing typically. So that is a positive thing. Things that we're doing, I think, is that we have great support from the administration at Mott Community College to have a robust police department and have great visibility and the technology and the manpower that we need to be visible and to interact with our community and to keep crime away from campus.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chief Seckman.
My pleasure.
Well done. Good report. And next, Vice President of Student Academic and Workforce Success, Robert Matthews, will provide the enrollment update.
Good evening again, Madam President, Madam Chair, and Trustees. Excited to share with you our update on enrollment. This snapshot is presented based upon the date of record, which for us this fall for the 15-week term was the 5th of September. As of that date, our student head count was 7123, represents a 12.6% increase from last year, from last fall. In terms of credit hours, an 11.7% increase. And then with contact hours, just over 76,000 represents a 10.7% increase. We do and are still enrolling for our late start and our second half semester courses. And so we're really excited about the outcome for this fall, and absolutely could not have done this without the commitment of Shonda and the marketing team, the Student Success Services team, with all of the outreach efforts, some of the changes to enrollment. We've had a really good start to this fall. The last meeting, we had a question, and if we could go to the next slide, that really focused on taking a look at how we're doing in comparison to some of our peers. And so this snapshot is very specific to that. And I'll tell you what often happens in terms of how we identify peer groups. So we're in the group typically with colleges that are between 5,000 and 10,000 students, but we also sometimes will look at a couple outside of that group. And so we often will look at Washtenaw or Lansing Community College. You'll note that they're both above the 10 mark. But as you can see, based upon this particular peer group in Michigan, we're not necessarily number one, but we are at the top of the pack for this fall. And again, definitely excited about what's happening here. Can we go to our next slide? So we also had a question relative to transfers, and this slide will show you the top 10 institutions that students who transfer from Mott are transferring to. So wanted to make sure that we shared that with you this evening as well. And then I think our next slide is specific to an additional question that was specific to dual enrolled students and what those students are doing or how they're moving forward. And so we noted that this snapshot is a 4-year window from 2020 to 2024. And during that period, 3.5% of those students, remember, who were in high school actually earned a credential at the time that they were here or before they graduated from high school. 26.1% of them continued or re-enrolled at Mott to continue their education. 27% enrolled at another college or university. And so it's above 50, 56.6% of them continued at a post-secondary institution. So that's a snapshot of that 4-year window and how dual enrolled students are matriculating. One of the points of pride that I hold dear, having worked at this institution for a long time, is the things that we do really well and get right. And not only the things that we do well and get right, but those things that others note that we do well and get right. So I'm going to share with you two things this evening that are things that we should be excited about. You have in your packets or at your stations, you have 2 articles that were recently published. The first one is one that comes from the Community College Daily. This is something that comes out each day from the American Association of Community Colleges. It's titled Preparing for Workforce Pell. As you all will note, Workforce Pell is something that many have advocated for a number of years. This year in the reconciliation process, it is one thing that was included that actually was able to pass this year. And so we're excited about this because what it does is for many programs that are workforce programs or short-term programs that lead directly to industry credential or employment, those programs were not eligible for Pell before, and now they will be. And so this article really highlights the fact that even though this has passed, there's still a lot of work to do because many colleges are not necessarily, their infrastructure and other things may not be ready to hit the ground running. Well, on page 3 of this article, you'll find that yours truly was interviewed, and really because we had opportunity and took advantage. Mott has done a lot of innovative things, and we took advantage almost 10 years ago of an opportunity to participate in a pilot of the Workforce Pell during this advocacy period. And so many of the things that other colleges will be seeking to learn to implement these programs, we've tested some of those, and we will be in much better position to ensure that we'll be successful out of the gate. So excited about that one. And the second one I'll share with you comes from the Center for Community College Success and Engagement. And so this organization, usually on a biennial basis, will survey colleges about things that they're doing to ensure student success, provide retention supports and other things for students. And one of the things that they decided to focus on this year was looking at how colleges are supporting students who are parents. And so as they were doing that research, they had opportunity to find out about some of the things that we were doing here at Mott. And we were, and you'll note on page 14 of this article, it talks about some of the specific things that have been done here at Mott. Again, another example of where nationally we are being noted for the things that we're doing to support students. And so just really like to make sure that we highlight and lift those things that show what we are doing to be successful, and not just for us, but really to make sure that our students are successful.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And next we will introduce the new hires for the past month. Shanyari Bird will join me, and I will start off with the introduction of Jim Mitchell, who wasn't able to be with us. He's the acting Associate Vice President of Human Resource. Jim brings a significant amount of talent management and recruitment, leadership development, and other HR function management and leadership experience from Lee Hecht Harrison and Knightsbridge, and also its parent company, Adecco Group. In both companies, he was At one, led large teams across North America, and at Adecco was president of their Canadian companies. Where his community involvement includes running marathons to raise funds for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and also Win for Youth. And he also has held leadership roles on boards of directors for the Detroit Public Television, Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and also the Detroit Economic Club. So he's very involved in this community. Recently, in the past year or so, moved to the Lapeer community and is very excited to be supportive of our presence not only in Lapeer, but also here, bringing world-class experience to help us evaluate our HR function, as Christy Dolly had recently determined she would take a different opportunity elsewhere, and we were in a position to bring Jim in on an interim acting basis to have him evaluate our current processes and procedures. If you could join me in welcoming Jim, appreciate that. And now I will turn it over to Shenyari, who will introduce the remainder of our new hires for the last month. Thank you, Shenyari.
You're welcome. Good evening. Okay, next we have Catherine Shanasi. She's one of the office assistant two in the Health and Human Services Division. She started in September. She has an associate's degree from Strayer University in Business Administration. Before Mott, she actually worked at Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram of Southfield, where she assisted customers and companies with paperwork and payments. Now we have Angela Bonham. She is our full-time social work instructor. She has a master's degree from Michigan State University in social work. She actually, before she became a full-time instructor, she was an adjunct here at Mott Community College, where she worked on the main campus and the Thumb Correctional Facility. Now we have Brian Popolek. He is our full-time nursing instructor. He has a master's degree from American Sentinel University in nursing education. Before having his full-time role at Mott, Brian also taught as part-time instructor nursing while also working as a operating room RN. Now we have Erin Turner. She is our full-time management instructor. She has a master's degree from Madonna University in international business management. She also was a part-time instructor before obtaining a full-time role, and during that time she taught business and financial application while also working at General Motors. We have Carolyn Miller. She is our full-time early childhood education instructor. She has a master's degree from University of Michigan Flint in early childhood education. She, another one before becoming a full-time instructor at Mott, she worked as the ECLC lead teacher, the early childhood practicum coach, and part-time faculty from Mott Community College. And we have Ronisha Shepard. She is our full-time communication instructor. She has a PhD from Wayne State University in communication. Before coming to Mott, she worked as a lecturer as needed at Delta College, teaching public speaking and interpersonal communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Shenyari. And now CFO Larry Gothrop and Rod Whitney will also give another update on our how we are addressing the parking concerns and issues that we've experienced this fall semester, given the growth in enrollment and additional students and cars on campus, as well as the closing a couple of years ago of the G ramp, which is along the Gilkey Creek. We have had to make some quick decisions, and Larry and Rod will tell you all about those.
Yeah, Thank you, Madam President. And I gave you a map, so Robert T. Longway's at the top, Court Street's at the south, and the circles there are the ramps that we'll be talking about, the parking spaces. So just as a background information, back in August of 2022, Walker Consultants informed us that in 3 years, substantial work would need to be completed to rehabilitate the parking decks H and J on campus, and that Ram G was no longer serviceable. So as Sean had mentioned, we had shut Ram G down. In order to determine the amount of degradation that occurred in Rams H and J, there are 550 core test holes had to be drilled into the slab and the beams. The first set of tests on levels 5 and 6 of H, which are the exposed parts, indicated the slabs were better than they anticipated, but the beams were worse. Given these findings, they requested that we shut down levels 5 and 6 until a shoring package could be installed. After the results of this testing, and since the ramps are of the same age and construction type, we asked that if they could limit their drilling to ramp H and not do ramp J, and just extrapolate the results to ramp J, which they agreed. So we did shut down 5 and 6 on J as well, until that can be shored up. They're now finishing up the testing on levels 3 and 4 in ramp H to determine the amount of scope of work that is needed to fully rehabilitate them for 10 more years of useful life. This shoring will cause about 1/3 of our parking spaces to be unavailable on both ramps until repaired. We can repair 1 ramp per year, and then they will be returned to full usage. In the meantime, as Sean had alluded in the additional campus traffic, this has caused some issues with parking on campus as far as availability, especially between the hours of, say, 9:30 and 3:30 p.m. So what we're doing is, if you look on to the left there, you see that's G. The G ramp is closed and fenced off, but there is G flat level parking, surface level parking. So we're in the process of cleaning that up. Applewood was actually using that as a staging area as they were building their pavilion, so they're working on getting that out of there as well. But there's about 100 spots there, so we can actually clean that up. It's been overgrown, restripe it, and get use relatively quickly. Once Ramp G is demolished, which we're going to start in December of this year, right, Rod? Right. This is another one of these projects been going on for a long time. We're anticipating 250 to 275 surface level spaces. I have become a huge fan of surface level spaces because they don't ever have to be repaired, other than seal coating, right? So they don't ever fall down or anything like that. So anyway, another parking issue that we have that we'll be having, you just approved the construction project, and that's a $32.5 million construction project, so there'll be many contractors coming on site. If you look on your map, on the right, top right corner, we have 2 overflow lots, S, which is paved, not in the greatest condition, and T, which is really just all grass, and we had curb cutouts there for the enrollment that we had back in 2009-10. So we are going to require that all of the contractors park in S, so that will take up, keep them off of the main campus parking. Also, Lot B, if you go back in the middle of the page, you'll see B there. About 1/3 of that will be unavailable because that will be used for staging for the construction. So we believe that once the shoring is complete, the shoring packages are up, and we can get some, 2/3 of our ramp space back in those two, that will help offset some of this loss that we have here, as well as making sure that our contractors are parking and as far away from the main campus as we have available for them. And then finally, all of these projects were included in Rod's workbook that was presented to you back in August as a emergency need, so that will be funded out of the bond funds.
Thank you, Larry.
Did you have anything, Rod?
No. I'm going to say this carefully. Having worked with numerous contractors, I'm looking at the parking area that you're putting them in, and I'm wondering how you're going to enforce that.
I'll let Rod answer. He's been talking to Clark.
So Our owner's rep that helps us as well came up with a great idea that he's used at other colleges, and they get a sticker, they get a tag, and then they have to have that on their vehicle. And then we obviously work with public safety to make sure that's enforced.
Thank you, Rod. And now Larry will provide an update on our Clio Northern Tier Extension site and our plans for our vacating the existing facility and co-locating with Clio High School. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So we've been leasing the Clio space at the current location, which was the old Pomita store, since January 2007. Randy Wise of Wise Realty purchased the property from S&T McGaldy in July of 2021. Wise Realty then informed us that they would honor the current lease end date of June 2026, but would not consider a renewal as the property was being repurposed to an auto dealership. The tuition and fee revenue Northern Tier has declined since 2011, when it was roughly $1.25 million per year through 2015. From 2016 to 2020, the total tuition revenues declined from $990,000 to $421,000, and the last completed year, 6/30/2025, was $188,000. So it's clearly apparent that the space is too large for our current needs. In early 2022, we compiled a team of academic affairs, student services, and facility staff and began looking for alternative sites. We met with Mount Morris Superintendent Mickey Kujat in June of, I hope I said that right, in June of 2022 and toured a portion of their former Central Elementary building. The layout of the available space was not desirable and was in need of substantial renovations. In the fall of 2024, Shonda asked that I reach out to the Clio Superintendent and the Clio DDA to inquire of any potential spaces that may be available for our current needs, be the lease or purchase. After a few conversations about the space that was available and not wanting to enter into another long-term lease, Lisa Taylor, Clio Superintendent, inquired if we would be interested in having enhanced dual enrollment at their high school. After discussion with both Shauna and Robert, it was decided that we should go and look at the space and configuration. Robert and I went out and met with Superintendent Taylor at the high school on August 8th and toured the available space, which is about 3 to 5 classrooms in one wing in the building. Both Robert and I had favorable reviews of the available space. We then discussed with Shonda, who asked that we set up a final tour and include herself, Kevin Asman, and Tom Salins, as well as anyone that Clio would like to have there for the final planning session. This occurred on September the 3rd. At the conclusion of the September 3rd meeting, Superintendent Taylor asked that we send over 2 potential class offering schedules, one for only enhanced dual enrollment and the other for enhanced dual enrollment with regular credit late afternoon or night offerings. Based on the tight time frame and using the least disruptive approach, the plan is to offer dual enrollment only for the winter 2026 term and add the regular late afternoon evening credit class offerings in the fall 26 term. This will give us ample time to get clearances where needed and plan for security, controlled entry, and how to limit the access to only the areas we would be using. The current lease for the Northern Tier site is just under $195,000 this year and has averaged roughly $162,000 over the past 8 years, with CPI increases and CAM charges increasing yearly. The cost for the first 6 months of the 2026 calendar year will be $0, as Superintendent Taylor has agreed not to charge us for the enhanced dual enrollment, which is common with our other enhanced dual enrollment only offerings. Beginning in September of 2026, if we choose to offer the 4 credit late afternoon night classes, we would negotiate an amount for the number of rooms we would utilize. Also, our lease with Randy Wise Realty included an early termination notice of 180 days. However, in speaking with Randy Wise, he agreed to hold us harmless on the additional 90 days notice that was not provided, and our last date of possession will be December 31st of 2025. An early termination notice stating the concession and move-out date has been drafted by General Counsel and is being sent to Wise Realty's attorneys. Rod and his team are aware of the drop-dead move-out date and is currently assessing the furniture and furnishings that need to be moved with the plan that we reuse any of it where possible on main campus and find storage on campus for the remaining. The contracted custodial provider will be notified, as well as SETSEG, our insurance carrier. So that is the update for the Northern Tier Center.
Thank you, Larry.
Any questions? Thank you, Larry. Next, Associate Vice President of Institutional Advancement, Dale Wayhill, will provide the Office of Institutional Advancement August 2025 report. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, trustees. Welcome to the Mott family. Trustee Guerra, I see you're off and running on Facebook with your Mott Mondays, so thank you. Keep it up. So the Office of Institutional Advancement includes the Grants Department, the Foundation for Mott Community College, and then Governmental Relations. The first slide talks about the Grants Department successes in August of 25. Normally when you see this, I've got a list of grants that run across the top, and there's one for each row. We didn't get any grants in the month of August. There were no receipts of grants. We applied for proposals, and we have pending proposals, but none were awarded in that month, so you don't see any listed here. So for the month of August, there were $0 that were actually awarded. We have the second column, which is the prior year. So there were $908,387 in grants a year ago in August. So the variance there is that amount. Is that you? Okay. And then we've added notes in the far right column that try to explain some of the variance. So the first thing is last year we got Section 107 funding, which is state. We anticipate receiving that. We just didn't receive it in August of this year. C-Campus is a federal program for early childhood over at the Prahl Center. That did not come in this year because of changes at the federal level. And then lastly, this MCC replication grant is out of the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation for the Mott early college, or not early college, Mott middle college, and that ended, and we knew that was going to be ending. So that's some of the rationale for the difference in the variance. Year to date, we have $140,000. That's month of July and August in grants. And then there is a variance there, obviously, compared to last year, year to date, $1.293 million. The bottom has an asterisk. As of August 31st of 2025, we had 13 outstanding grant proposals that had been previously submitted, some as long as August of last year, that we're still waiting to hear about. That's a federal one, that particular proposal. And these totaled $9.138 million, and it doesn't say it, but probably 2/3 of that figure, the 9.1, is congressionally directed spending requests that we have in to Senator Gary Peters and to Representative Kristen McDonald-Rivet's office. And in theory, we should know something about the status of those in the next 8 days if they can come up with a budget. Next slide is going to be the Foundation for MCC. We've got several categories, so scholarships, events, unrestricted contributions to the foundation, other funds, and then employee giving from Mott employees. The August column, you can see there, we have positive variances in all of those except for the first one, where last year in August we got a significant scholarship donation that created a variance there of 90%. The bottom line for the foundation for the month of August of this year, almost $10,000. Prior year, largely driven by that large scholarship, was $20,996. But we do have a positive variance for the foundation year to date. 280,000 or so, or 279,000 versus the prior year of 141. The next slide is governmental relations. We've been doing a lot of work lobbying in Lansing, and it's not only, and I'll get to this in a minute, with our lobbying firm, Public Affairs Associates, but with Shonda's lead and a number of EC members. We've been to Lansing. Seems like we've got a Zoom at least every other week with either legislators or their staff. We didn't have any letters in the month of, or emails in the month of August, but I did speak with Representative David Martin, who's from Genesee County, and Representative Phil Green, who's from Lapeer, and talked to both of them about the importance of the Community College Guarantee, the Michigan Reconnect program, but also the overall state budget. About 20% of our $90 million budget is state aid and comes through the appropriation process. So they'd already heard the spiel from me and from Shonda and others multiple times, but I emphasized it. And then I confirmed with Senator Cherry that he did get us into the state Senate budget that they passed for some up to $100,000 to help with our greenhouse over at the Gorman Center. Other meetings, we talked about the upcoming capital outlay request that's due to the state by the end of October. That will once again be around the medical complex idea, which trustees have a fair amount of knowledge of, and hopefully we'll have a new improved proposal because we've really been looking at the scoring rubric that they use at the state level to improve upon what we submitted last year. And then the second piece of other meetings, unfortunately, we did not get an extension around congressionally directed spending that Congressman Kildee had acquired for us probably 3 years ago. We were looking for a third year to spend that down. This was for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library and also the Latinx Technology Center. We did not get a rollover of that from the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, and so we had to have a meeting and talk about how to pause that program, at least for now. Under other activities, I drafted a resolution which you all considered at your August board meeting and approved. And then at the federal level down below, we didn't have any letters or meetings, but I did attend a webinar along with our grants manager, Ann Rennie, who's in the audience here. The topic was navigating the federal grant landscape, and then, of course, the resolution that you adopted had a federal component to it. Let me end with this memo that you have in front of you, or I think it's in front of you, from Public Affairs Associates. Again, this is our paid lobbyist that we've had for probably 9 or 10 years, and they drafted this to you. They could not be here this evening in person or on Zoom. Largely, this memo is about the current condition of state budget negotiations. I think you all know that we have a divided state government in the sense that the House of Representatives is controlled by the Republican Party. The Michigan Senate has a Democratic majority, and of course we have a Democratic governor in Governor Whitmer. That provides for some high drama in terms of not only passing regular legislation, but especially the budget, which is a multi-billion-dollar project. There is the possibility of a state government shutdown at the end of the day on September 30th. It is supposed to go into effect at midnight on October the 1st. The primary obstacle, as I understand it, and that the letter will point out, is how to fund roads and road improvements, and that's the perennial issue that, of course, the governor ran on famously. The others are interested in solving that infrastructure problem. They're disagreeing right now on how to fund it, and that has delayed a solution on the budget. As you know from your civics class, we have to have a budget pass the House by a majority. The same document identically has to pass the Senate before it can be signed by the governor. So there has to be a certain level of compromise among the parties, and they're not there quite yet. So with that, I will stop and yield back to the president for any questions.
Thank you, Dale.
I also wanted to mention that you do have 2 copies of letters that were, these were September letters, so not on Dale's report, but these are letters that we have sent to the representatives that are listed on the first page of each of the letter. There's a letter to our state representatives as well as one for federal legislators. And these copies, per your request at prior meetings, are being provided to you as examples of the advocacy efforts that we are engaged in.
Were these sent out? I noticed that they're dated September 22nd. Were they sent out today?
They will be sent out tomorrow.
Just drawing on my background, I would tell you, in Lansing, they're a long ways apart from resolving the road issue. And I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but they're further away now than I think they ever have been between the Senate and the House. And part of the problem is that we've got a law that's been in place actually since 1927. As far as the governance issues are involved, the finances were the last piece of legislation is 1951. And it just doesn't meet the changes that have occurred in Michigan since those 2 dates. That the population density is different, and there's a lot of problems that they're going to have to work out.
Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
And next, Associate Vice President and Chief of Staff Marcus Matthews will introduce the new Mott Community College briefing book that we are very excited and proud to share with you, which will provide the baseline for the strategic planning process and gives us a way to measure the initiatives and goals, objectives that we will be putting in place. So with that, Marcus, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Madam Chair, members of the board, who's excited to talk data? Okay, quiet. All right, just me. All right. I promise, Trustee Wolcott, I'll keep it under an hour. Okay, I'm just teasing. All right, in front of you today is a briefing book we are very excited to introduce you to for the first time. This is a long time in the making. When Shonda became president, she challenged our IRDS team, which is our Institutional Research and Decision Support team, with providing data for the college in all forms of decision-making that is transparent, that is relevant, and that matches industry standards from what we know to say colleges need to track. In this book, you have 4 brand new reports and a 5th report you've seen before, but I'm going to introduce you mostly to these 4 reports you see here. As you flip through this book here, you'll notice past your first tab, there is a sheet that says Key Strategic Deliverables. These are the 4 new reports that we are introducing to you for the first time. This first page just goes over a brief overview of these reports, the cadence of the reports, and some high level of when you can expect them to be updated. But what I want to do is just touch on these reports very quickly with each of you and kind of share with you how you can use these reports in your role as a board member and how we can use these as an executive team and as leadership and employees of Mott Community College. So you see the 4, the Mott at a glance, the enrollment demographics report, the management dashboard, and then our fact book. If you flip over to the first tab here, it looks like this, Mott at a glance. This is a front and back, it's 2 pages here, but it can be provided to you in a front and back of the college at a glance. There are over 122 different data points in this report alone. This is the report that if you go to a meeting, if you're representing Mott somewhere, if you want to share data and someone asks a question, this right here is your quick and fast report that you can look at to share information about Mott Community College. We update this on a fall, winter, summer basis, but the report you see here is at the end of each summer, you will get all 3 semesters put together. So someone asks you about enrollment for basically the year, right? Fall 2024 to summer 2025, you have it right here. If they want to know how many workforce students we have, you have it right here. You want a quick breakdown of demographics, our graduations and our credentials, our academic programming. You can bring this with you to any meeting. You can have it, and you can share real information that you know is factual from our IRDS team. And as you continue and you fold through it, you can see that front and back is information. Some of this information will change every semester. Some will stay static, such as maybe facilities or something of that nature, but we'll provide this for you every semester. The next tab, as you go over, is our enrollment demographics report. Trustee Dotson at the last board meeting did request some enrollment demographic information. You will find that information here in this report and then even more. This is a breakdown of our student population by biological sex, ethnicity, and race. It is 10 pages long, again with multiple different demographic information for you to look at. And it also compares it to the GISD so that we make sure we have an accurate representation on our campus to the best of our ability of all of who we represent. Now, I realize this is a lot of information. I don't expect you to go through it right now. So I'm giving you a high-level overview, and of course, any questions afterwards, more than happy, or during the week, more than happy. The next one is the one that we are most proud of, and that is our management dashboard. It says KPI, organizational documentation, managerial dashboard. This is our most granular information on different data points to really give a health check of where we are as a college. You can see on this first page here, it tells you the cadence that each one of these areas will be updated, along with which benchmark every single one of these data points categories comes from. What we challenge our IRDS team to do is look at what is out there that is the best of the best. Who has already identified key metrics that we can use to make sure we are gauging the health of our college satisfactory, and you can see these various benchmarks and kind of the who's who of alphabet soup of community college KPIs, key performance indicators. And that's who we use. Every single data point that you see here in the category, our descriptions relate back to one of those key benchmarking groups so that we know it actually matches exactly what colleges are looking for at that time. As you flip slowly through it, you'll see it's broken up into 10 different categories with numerous data points on each one of these. And then as you flip through your data book here, your briefing book, you can see various data information. And what we wanted to make sure that you saw and our team sees is how it compares to trends over the last 5 years at Mott Community College. That way we can see if we're doing better, if we're worse, if it's an area of opportunity, if it's a strength to highlight. This just gives us great information on every single one of those categories to use on a very much a regular basis. The next page, if you flip to the next tab, is our fact book. This is a little more high level, a little more annual. It's not as updated as regularly as the managerial dashboard of the KPIs, but you can still see there it has 6 categories. As an overview, academics, employees, finance, the high schools that we're getting students from, and some of our campus locations. This is produced more annually, updated less regularly, but it's something you can still have with you as you're looking at data, as you're sharing and being a cheerleader of Mott Community College. And the final tab I want to share with you in the final report is not a new report to you, so it's not on the 4 descriptions. You've all, outside of Trustee Guerra, you've all seen this before, but this is our quarterly workforce trends, our labor market information, our economic breakdown. This shows you where the jobs are, where our economy is trending, what are areas of hiring. This is produced by our workforce and economic development team on a quarterly basis using their various resources that they have, but it really gives you a great picture in a quick way of who's hiring, what focus on areas of industry that are growing, and what we can do as a college to address those needs. This will be updated for you on a quarterly basis is what we're looking at.
Thank you, Marcus. Kenyatta? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. First of all, yes.
Thank you, Trustee Dotson.
This is amazing. It'll definitely guide me as I'm having conversations in community and also in my role here on the board. So thank you so much. There is a couple of categories I'm wondering if maybe we can consider, and maybe I missed them. I have looked through it a couple of times, but barriers that exist and also the needs, and maybe that's going to come out in the survey that we're doing now as it relates to the strategic plan. But that would be helpful to see, according to the population served, what do they consider to be the barriers and what do we see as the needs being, so that we can assess that with what it is, what resources we have on the campus.
Thank you, Trustee Dotson. Great ideas. I will say this, President Shonda mentioned this, but we do plan on using this as a baseline for our strategic plan. We know that's next year on the agenda. We have to know where we are to know where we're going, and we have to have goals that are measurable. So this is our guide. This is our baseline. This is our numbers to say this is where we are. What can we get to? So absolutely, Trustee Dotson, what you just said is important. We have to recognize, and I don't want to, get ahead of us because next to strategic planning, but what are those areas we need to focus on? Where are those opportunities, and how do we track those accordingly? So I could definitely see a barriers and a needs being something of that nature, especially from our strategic planning. Yeah, thank you.
Santino?
Thank you. And I just want to say I appreciate this as well. It's the perfect timing for me to come on because I've asked a lot of questions already to you guys, the administration, and this fact book really helps me answer those and also get it out to the community as well. So I really appreciate this, and I'm glad. I know that John had asked a question before, like how often is it going to come out? And it's great that you're going to stick with this so that we can keep updated numbers. So I really appreciate that. That was a great question earlier too, John.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to add, Trustee, is if there is something like Trustee Dotson said, I'd really like to know X, I'd really like to know Y, and it's not in here, Drew Thiemann, who leads our IRDS team, is great at pulling information and data. So if you do have a request, obviously through the president, but we're more than happy if she sends that our way to take a look at that data and do it to the best of our ability to try to break it down even in separate or additional categories.
Absolutely. This is just a starting point. We expect and hope it to continue to evolve, and we love the mindset of continuous improvement. We talk about it every day, and we expect with your feedback, input, and other ideas that we receive from other administrators, staff, and students, and faculty will continue to add to this. We also are exploring ways of making it available on the website. So a few of the fact book section and the KPI section are interactive. And so we're working on that currently, and hope that we can make it available on the website eventually.
John?
I think this is a good first step. Before you can decide where you want to go, you have to know where you are.
Absolutely.
And in any strategic process, the plan is going to have to start with an inventory of some shape or form as to what your inventory and your initial goals are. The question, I'll save that till we get to the strategic.
I just wanted to say I had the opportunity to look through this last week, but I was setting the agenda with Shonda, and I'm completely blown away. The amount of time that the administration, led by Shonda, has put into this is just astronomical. And so kudos to all of you guys for putting this together. And also, I think this is a great thing for us to take with us to conferences for when we get asked questions. And right here, this is everything that we can start with. So good job, guys.
Thank you. In one of our plans, we know you are our biggest cheerleaders and supporters, and we know how much you love the college, so this gives you an opportunity to share, who we are and what we have, and have facts and data to pick it up, to back it up, so thank you. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, moving on. Strategic planning process update. Shonda?
Marcus?
Thank you.
Julie?
I am going to ask Julie Kunselman from Studer Education to join me at the table. I believe everyone here, hi Julie, I believe everyone here knows Julie. She has been a longtime partner of the college. I've been here 6.5, almost 7 years. I think Julie's been here most of that? Some of it. All right, some of it. She's been here a while. And she is leading our strategic planning process from Studer Education. And I can let her fill in their experience and where they work and what they do and how they're helping guide us. So, Julie?
Thanks, Marcus. You going to stay in the hot seat, too?
I'll stay with you.
All right. Yep. All right. I love it. Jordan, thank you. It's good to be with you all. Welcome. And appreciate the opportunity to talk with you tonight. I think this is probably my first time talking with you directly, so very much appreciate that. Started out with the slides in your packet just to share a little bit about Studer Education. Some of you may be familiar with if you walk into a healthcare organization that's a Studer group healthcare organization, very much aligned. We take the principles from the Studer group, what was Studer group, and have translated those into education in our work with not only higher ed, but also over 100 K-12 organizations, as well as some local governments. We have a lot of former educators on our as colleagues with lots of years of experience, many who were superintendents or CEOs of their organization. I listed a little bit of my background too on the bottom of the page, just to let you know I had worked in higher ed for about 20 years, a little over 20 years as a faculty member and academic administrator across all levels and all leadership, college, university, wide and program. Published in the last 13 years have worked with college and university presidents and executive teams with this work, including strategic planning. I also wanted to share with you the methodology of what we're using to set the stage for the strategic plan. I know that you had timeline and work plan, kind of sharing the process with you, and this provides a little bit more of an overview about the planning methodology. Right now, we're in that phase 2 where we're collecting data and analyzing it as we go, and then we'll move into that phase 3 of sharing the draft and continuing to look and iterate the plan and feedback, inviting potentially more feedback as well, until we get through that timeline that we've discussed, which is either December or early January. So along that way, we've built in really leadership feedback too, right? From you all as a board of trustees, but also the president and the executive team, as well as we're bringing back to that leadership stage a committee that we used in the past a couple years ago that really set the stage for our commitments. And that's a team of employees from across the institution in various roles who really serve as kind of a grassroots committee to provide feedback on what we're learning in the feedback process. Jordan. And one of the reasons we do that is really the why for strategic planning. You know, if we start on the left side of this arrows document, we know we have good people working with us and alongside us at Mott. But without a strategic plan in that strategic direction, we're doing great things, but we may not all be headed in the same direction. And potentially working in silos as well, not knowing or understanding what each other is doing and where we could partner to really accelerate our work. And so what the strategic plan does for us with that big arrow kind of in the middle of the diagram, it really helps us to begin connecting what we see as our focus, right? And almost that plan of action for where we can begin having conversations and seeing connections in the work that we're doing, and also begin to collaborate. And then set expectations where we move to the right, where we're really aligning to those key measures in measurable ways. We're really focused on overall goals and what we're doing on a cycle basis, continuing to get feedback, but setting expectations for folks. So in that next slide, one of the questions you all had was, well, how's the methodology, where are we grounding it in best practices or research? So what this methodology that I just shared with you is really a kind of a replicated mixed methods methodology, right? So if you think about what that means, we're really wanting to invite a wide range of folks to provide input who have key interests in our institution and in really helping us to get better. It invites that assessment of the now. Some of the data that you all have looked at with the new dashboard helps us do that too. But it also, the SWOT analysis, for example, that we did at the Committee of the Whole meeting is an example of that as well. And it invites that process for visioning for the future. And so we also said, what does it aspirationally look like for Mott to be excellent? And then at the same time, it not only informs that process that we're using, but also what the plan what the outcomes of the plan. So it talks about the minimum components in the research. It talks about the plan as being that framework and guide for decision making, and that it really serves, and for us it's 2 years, so it serves as really what that context and time in the external environment looks like. So that's kind of the grounding in the research. There's some citations there for you as well. And then this next slide is the timeline and where we are in progress to date. This is a slide that Mary Hildy used at the Committee of the Whole as well. I've just superimposed the timeline for specificity on there so you can see we're at that September 22nd timeline. There's the red, yellow, or well, only yellow and green. Yellow in progress, green is what we've completed to date. So I'm going to focus now on phase 2 and where we are. So I wanted to provide some context that we started really the work that goes into being foundational for a strategic plan. So not the strategic plan process, but that foundational work with the committee that I mentioned called the Commitment Thought Team. And we really focused on what were the existing commitments of the institution. In that team, again, of people from across the institution, employees at all levels, they focused on whether or not these were the right ones at that time, and whether that we needed to think about revising them, right? Opportunities to improve those as we think about our future. And that work was done the end of December through March of 2024. And in that work, we also had complete all-employee. We presented it in an all-employee meeting. We had an all-employee survey. So we really got a lot of input across employees in that process to develop, bless you, what are now our commitments. And if you you may not remember, but we had 2 of those commitments. It was our students and our employees. We moved our employee success and student success, and we moved and added a 3rd one based on the committee's recommendation, which included the community partnership, right? Community impact and community partnership. So I wanted to provide that as a base. It's really our values, right? As an institution, what you can expect if you're engaging with an employee from Mott Community College. The second thing that we did, or we also did in April 2024, is we started listening sessions at that time internally, so with both employees and with leaders, as well as with students. And those data did not, we kept them and evaluated them, and really they served for us this process of a starting point, if you will, along with for reflection by the leadership team currently. So we've been working with the all leadership team, which is about 70 people, 70 leaders, for the last 8 months or so, and really focused on the building an extraordinary student experience, right? So those data really grounded some of those conversations, really helped us get to what you saw in the development of the survey. We had some pretty specific ideas for folks to reflect on. That all came out of those leadership, all leadership team meetings. And so now the green part is where we are today. We worked with the Mott board in August 2025, that committee of the whole, with a stakeholder survey currently open right now. And then we completed 4 listening sessions last week. So just a quick update on that. So the next slide, I've updated on the screens from what you saw in your packet. So I wanted to provide a 5-day update. So on the screen, you can see that we've had additional participation since the board packet from 9/17. Jordan, if you go to the next slide. That's a 78% increase in those 5 days. And I think that's important to show, and by partner or by different role as well. I know one of your questions was related to, you know, what's the response, what response rate are we supposed to be looking for? What's a good response rate? And I can give you a textbook answer to that. I can say, well, you know, when we look at responses and statistical analysis, we need at least 30 to begin to look, because that gets us to the central limit theorem, which means the responses that we get out of those 30 probably follow a normal curve. But we don't really care. I mean, you all might care about that, but I don't think that's helpful to us in why we think about the purpose of why we're surveying. So I think when we answer the necessary and sufficient, whether or not, you know, 373 is necessary and sufficient, I think we've got to really think about the purpose of why we're surveying, right? And it goes back to, we want to have a broad reach for input across a lot of different stakeholder groups, right? So I think what this helps us look at, and what it helps us decide, because we have about 10 days left in this current survey, and we've had a few hiccups, right, along the way with it. But if we look at the response rate of where we are, for example, in business, industry, employer, K-12 partners, and we're at only 7. For me, that's not sufficient. Okay, because when I look at, if we even go to Larry's presentation on best practices, you know, from pages 311, somewhere between that and 328, there's a laundry list of best practices related to our partnerships in the community with business and industry, our partnerships with customized on-site training, our industry partners, our local and regional workforce agencies, our partnerships with schools. 7 does not meet that, right? But there's also a lot of partnerships listed in Larry's report that we know we have relationships with. And so I think that's part of the process that is strategic planning, is now that we have these data, who do we know and who can we tap into in our circles that we can then share this with to get their feedback, right? And so I think as we continue to progress monitor this, and Marcus has a, you know, he can look at this any time of day he would like. I think we really have an opportunity to use and have conversations with you all and others to say, we need your help, right? And share the code or the URL to get them to participate. So I think that's the opportunity in this, right? And so I think my expectation is we'll do better. And again, I can go back to, well, you know, research says if we have a 25% or 30% response rate, we're good. Even in surveys that I do, my expectation is much higher. You know, the surveys that I administer with other partners, my expectation is that we're going to have 70 and above. And but again, I think it gets to the question of what's our purpose in this. And I think if, you know, we need to really pay attention to some of these roles where we think we can do better and should do better. So this is a new slide that's not in your packet because this is the listening session participation update. And in that, you can see we did 4 different sessions. 3 at the extension sites, 1 each, and then 1 at the here on campus. Participation was really poor, and with that being said, those that did attend, we received some really good feedback. And so what you can see just briefly of the analysis from those on-site conversations is up on the board. Working well, really great recognition of the relationships in the learning environment that our students are walking into on any of the extension campuses. Many talked about the best-in-class reputation of the programs that they're in, and that's what got them to Mott Community College. Also, working well, that expanded access that the extension sites offer. And for some of our community partners, the facility use for their organizations, Michigan Works, et cetera. And then also working well, those the new efforts, lobbying too that Dale mentioned, but the new efforts to get financial support, accessibility resources, process improvements, and redefining success. So again, limited participation, but the feedback that we received at those was thoughtful, really thoughtful. You can see opportunities for improvement there, getting into the value proposition for Mott Community College, and how we communicate that, not only from a student lens, but also from an employer lens, a parent lens, and for our K-12 partners as well. The opportunity to build awareness, explanation of next level programs and skills aligned to career advantages for students that are currently in programs. That grounding of internal processes kind of as a leading practice, if you will, related to individual level safety, security, advancement, and then what it means to first define that community hub, but also then what it looks like to get there. There's a lot of conversation, especially at the extension sites, not knowing the full offering of what was available. Many showed interest, but just had no idea some of the offerings that were happening. So the cool thing about the strategic planning process and that methodology is that really when we look at phases 2 and 3, they're kind of mashed together in a way, where we're looking at collecting, analyzing, then sharing, but we're also doing that in an improvement cycle type of thing, which gets us into phase 3. And so as we're learning, we'll begin sharing out, right? Some of that feedback for people then to think about and analyze with us and have conversations about, and then we'll go back, right, and iterate the items again. So that's the cool part about the timeline and the process of how we put it together. Jordan? And part of that, too, especially as we think about the participation in the survey, is, you know, our role in it, or your role in it as board members. And this is this again is a slide that we presented at the role of the board that Mary Hildy presented at the committee of the whole. and superimposed on that is that role alignment in the timeline. And I think it goes back to that question of the survey, who do we know, right, in those roles where we might not have sufficient responses that we can then tap into in our hula hoop to increase the participation. And so that's where we are with regard to we need your help, right? We need your help as leaders of the institution. And then I updated this next slide because I also wanted to share the iterative process of this is that when we built the work plan, those cycles of conducting listening sessions and focus groups, you can see right after the September 22nd board update, which we're doing now, we have an additional opportunity and built in already an additional opportunity to conduct listening sessions and focus groups. And through September and October. And so with the participation that we received and not being excited about that, we've gone ahead and scheduled 4 additional sessions, and 2 of those will be on Zoom online on September 30th. One's from 12 to 2 and one's from 5 to 7, and then we'll have additional face-to-face sessions in October 6th, from 9 and 11, and then an evening or early evening session from 4:30 to 6:30. And so I think, part of the conversation is, how do we use what is the methodology to really make sure that we're getting sufficient participation and input. And so we wanted to make sure that we offered people another opportunity, a few opportunities to come and have a discussion with us as well. And so we've gone ahead and scheduled those to be proactive. So thank you, and with that, I know. Do y'all have any questions?
Jen?
Thanks, sir. A couple of things. What makes the effort that we're undertaking strategic?
The effort that you all?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm asking really is what do we see as being the purpose of a strategic plan?
Well, when we collaborate to build strategic plans, it's really about where we look to set goals for the future of the institution, of where it wants to, where it sees itself, right? Usually we're, for a 2-year plan, it doesn't mean we're still not looking out potentially to your aspirational goals. Some of those aspirational goals that are on the list, we can't just snap our fingers and we get there in 7 years, right? If we're building some stuff. So even with that, whatever comes out of that, we've got to really be strategic in our actions and our process now, so that we're setting the stage to align to where we want those.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more that this is it's obviously a plan for, it's taking where we are now and looking at where we want to go.
Sure, yes, sir.
And what I'm looking for is that the path that is defined out of that be sustainable. Mm-hmm. That we are in an area where our expenses are going up every year, and yet if Michigan's economy has one characteristic, it's cyclical. And we're at a downturn. And that I am concerned about that we need to look at, part of this is to think the worst case. I mean, when you go and buy something, we fall into this trap of all we do is look at the good side of it, and we don't look at the bad side of the environment that we're going to walk in. For instance, what's our best guess at what the impact is if all of a sudden the state decides they're going to pull the plug for financial reasons on free tuition? What are there any black swan events that could dramatically affect us over a certain time frame, say 3 to 5 years? And then once we come out of that with the document that allows us to take that longer term look, then now we've got something in place. And I realize it takes a while to get there because that first process is hard. You now are not starting from square one every year. If you've done it right, you're updating the now year to look at what the impacts are downstream on the year 4 or 5, or whatever, however you decide you're going to package it. And there should be a direct tie in execution between the strategic plan and the annual budget. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. There should be that bridge that's there that says, okay, anything we've got in the annual budget should be justifiable under the strategic plan.
Which is the reason why we want to ensure that the strategic plan is completed in that January timeframe so that it can be utilized as part of the budget development process that will launch in March.
I think that's certainly a criteria, but I'm more concerned about quality. And I don't want to have a document that comes out that's a flawed document. That's a kind word for other things. Because too often I see things that get put through on a crash program.
Yeah.
And they're great. They come out the other end, they get approved, dusted off, set on the shelf, and nobody looks at them again until the next circus.
That's actually a good description of our last strategic plan.
And so I want to be sure that, one, I think that the step that we have, that this represents a good start with regards to a de facto inventory of this organization that we call Mott Community College, or the directions that we want to set for the next 3 to 5 years, whatever that time frame is. And that's for us to decide. What are the mileposts that are going to be necessary to get there? And we need to spend some time thinking about that. If we look at this just within the focus of 1 year, then from my perspective, that's something other than a strategic plan.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Because I think, our focus, and I'm with you on the finance piece and understanding, and it's finances we can control, right? So I think that's the other piece of really understanding from a strategic plan standpoint what we can control in that strategically. And so what we do alongside the strategic plan is build what we call a scorecard. It could be a dashboard. It doesn't matter what you call it, but it's those key sustainability metrics that you're talking about, right? Now, the whole booklet is not, I mean, they're important, right? But what we want to get to are those key sustainability metrics. And so, for example, and I think this is the importance of your statement of what if we've felt it right now with the federal funding pieces, right? But what does it feel like if some of the state programs that are the free tuition programs go away? Well, I met with Larry, right, too, to say, what does it look like for us? What's the SCH look like for us to be sustainable, right? Yeah. And so those are the things, like when we when we look at budget alignment, we look at usually enrollment is what we can control. And so with Larry being able to forecast what that looks like, it really helps us understand, and I think this is the strategic part of it. Headcount is only one part of it. Yeah. It's the SCH piece, the student credit hours or the contact hours, that's the funding mechanism. And so it begins to change. What we want it to do is change our behavior. So now if we look at student success services, what does it mean to change our behavior in advising so that we're advising students maybe thinking about that completion of a degree more quickly, right? Yeah. Or completion in general, right? Better retention rate or better persistent rate. And what does it look like for us to teach differently where we're attempting to keep one additional student in class and complete the class? Because Larry can tell us that if we can, and we've done this at other institutions, based on section, if we're not asking faculty to keep everybody, but if they keep one more student in their class, it could potentially be, depending on sections, $500,000, $500,000, right? And those are the things we can control, but without a strategic plan, right, we can't set those expectations from a leadership standpoint. And that's where we really need to be. So I'm with you on we want to use it. We want leaders to be able to use this, to be able to lead towards and set expectations for their people. And you won't get anything less than quality in the process that we've outlined. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but y'all, this is important. This is important. This is important, and this partnership has been one for me, an important partnership over the last 5 years. So just appreciate the opportunity to work with you on it.
I mean, we're starting on a voyage, and this voyage is a never-ending voyage. It's sort of like a bus line, and we're going to go through the first process, us collective, this entity that's the real leadership body, the administration, us, the students, and our stakeholders. And we're going to arrive at a thing, and it's going to, I'll tell you, coming out the other side, the chances of it being perfect are about that. You're going to get a flawed document out the other side. And we're going to look at that, and you're going to have to make corrections in year 2 for what you did, what we thought was important that turned out not to be important, and what is important that we didn't identify. And we really, the first step needs to be a good, strong, sturdy step. And what I don't want to do is get pushed into it because of time. Mm-hmm. Okay? I understand the implications of January 1st and what all that means, and my response in looking at it in terms of the importance of having a quality plan is, so what? The quality of the plan comes first.
Couldn't agree more, okay. Right? Couldn't agree more. And I think that's the purpose for looking at the data over time, right? If the survey, for example, so that we know where we need to continue to get input, right? To make sure that we get the input that's going to help us build a quality plan. I know the timeline is scary, right? For most of us, we think of, and for a lot of work we do, you know, it's sometimes a year long. Most of the time it is. Most of the time, too, it's an 8-month. You know, so we'll start in the fall semester and we'll go through to maybe February for approval of a board. So we've done some in 6 months, right? And it's good work. But I think our goal is absolutely bottom line. The outcome has to be quality. So whatever it's going to take us to get there is the work that I'm I want to do with you.
Just two quick other things. First of all, please, when we're putting this plan together, when we make assumptions, make sure the assumptions are listed in the plan so we know where we've done that. The second thing is, since we're looking at establishing a process, it's going to be a multi-year process. You're going to have to look at some way of having constant year dollars so that when we get to year 2 and we're competing, looking back, we don't look back and say, oh, well, that's what we spent last year. Yeah, that's what we spent last year, but we can't, what we spent last year won't buy us this year what we bought. That we need to do constant year dollars, net present value, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Santino, go ahead.
Yeah, so I know you said your happy number is 70% of a survey base. So I'm just kind of curious what your 70% is, because you're looking at student population, employee, faculty, or are you 70% of the district, which is a pretty large number? Like
Yeah.
what number are you happy with, and what number are we actually realistically shooting for with feedback?
For 70%, you know, I think this is a different type of survey than what we would look at for what I was describing to you as employee experience, and we get upwards of 90% of employees who participate in those. This one's a little different, and so I think we need to think about it not so much as a rate, right, that we're happy with, but we've got to look at whether or not we're happy with the inclusion of the populations that we deemed were important stakeholders. That information is, I can get Jordan to share it back with you, but at the committee of the whole, this group talked about these are all the stakeholder groups we want to reach, right? And I think for us, it's making sure we see those voices participate, and so that employer number, I think we've got to make that robust. I'm not sure that I can give you a good number for that, but I know that when we all agree that that's a sufficient number, is probably when we have enough.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I know there's a lot of people that are up here, and if you could get that to Jordan and later to the board,
Yeah.
kind of what stakeholders, I wasn't there for that meeting, right? So
Yeah,
I know I'm kind of looking at it backwards.
Do you
And then another,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Guerra. We had 22 different stakeholder groups identified when we emailed the survey out. So in the committee of the whole, the board mentioned things like employers, nonprofits, alumni, students. They had a huge list that they mentioned, and we have lists for each one of those categories, and that's who we sent it out to. So there were 22 different stakeholder groups that we focused on.
Do you remember how many were in the employer group?
I would have to look.
Santino, if you want that list provided, we can get that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is in your onboarding packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee, we also, the leadership, executive leaders built out lists aligned to each of those where we made sure that the survey went out to them. And so I think probably a good number would be for us to look at that list and say we've reached X percent of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of say in regards, I know it's a really close turnaround date, right? When I've talked to members of the community, I know, and some of the older individuals I've talked to, their response is, well, Mott's great, right? I don't want to take a survey. I don't need to go in any different direction because it's been working for years. And some of the younger people I've talked to in the community, they said, well, what's my incentive for taking a survey? Because everything that I take, usually I get 10% off, if I take a survey. So those have been the feedback that I've got from both generations while talking about the survey. So I don't know with this time frame if we can, address those two issues. But I just think future ones coming out, and to kind of keep that in mind with responses that we're getting.
Yeah, thank you.
Art, go ahead.
Yeah. The timeline on the survey, I think, is too short. And given the numbers of participation that we're having, I think that it's great to see that 9 members of the board, or that identified as boards, over 3 boards. I'd like to know how many, and I'm not asking you, but how many members of each of those boards are there? And for us to have only had 9. I mean, there's 7 of us on this board. So then,
There were 2 from this board that self-identified as being a member of this board. So 2 of that number that you see.
Well, that's a shame, because that should be your identifier if you're a member of this board. And if you're a member of this board and you haven't filled out the survey, shame. But in what I had discussed previously, and then sent a follow-up email regarding the difference in the timing, I won't say delay, but the difference in the timing of the survey going out and then this getting to us, because of that difference in timing, I've missed deadlines on publication of papers that I had front-loaded, that we had this thing coming out, and then I didn't have anything to provide. So because I didn't have anything to provide, we're missing out on literally thousands of eyes, from new hires in manufacturing to retirees, people all who have had a stake in what's going on at Mott Community College. Now, I'm trying to follow up with those. I'm putting those out where I can, but nothing beats doing it in a mass where we can do that. Only getting 7 of the business, industry, and employer partners in K-12, what are we doing to improve that number? What kind of follow-up do we have going on with those? What reasoning are we getting that people are not or have not yet responded to that? Is October 3rd just not doable because of everything that's going on with student counts and everything? But I know that we have more than 7 business partners that workforce development works with. I mean, we are training employees in more than 7 employers in this county, in the district. What are we doing to, for lack of a better word, put pressure on them to participate? And that's for whoever's responsibility that is. I'm looking at you because you're making the presentation, but I'm not asking you what you are doing. It's good to see that we got 133 students, but we just got a report that we got 9,000 plus students. I'm not happy with, and to arbitrarily say, well, 20%, which was the number that we were given when we discussed this survey, and there were people that we did ask questions about, is the survey the best way to go about this? We're told, well, 20% is going to be happy. We're not there. We're not close to being there. So if we're going to be happy with 20%, then in my mind, it stands to reason that we would be unhappy with less than that. Again, what are we doing to react? Because we're in this process. What are we doing to react to making sure that the process is as fluid as possible so that we're getting the most? I'm not going to say that 500 is the good number, but is it representative of the voices of the stakeholders that we've put out? And that's where if it's too heavy one way or one particular group, then we're not really getting the full scope of what we're doing. And we're looking at a 2-year process. If it, and to me, and I do agree with what John said, I understand the desire to have this voted on in December so that it's ready for January 1st. But if it's not ready, it's not ready. And we have to do the absolute best that we can to ensure that we are getting follow-up on that. And thank you for it's not in our packet, but the listening sessions. When I see focus group, I see that means something different than a listening session to me. Because a listening session is you just kind of put out an open invitation, whoever comes, you're listening to them. A focus group is you are specifically inviting certain people so that you can get there. You have identified them as business leaders or as labor leaders or as education leaders or whatever stakeholder you've done it, and you've brought them together focused. Have we done that? When are we going to do that? Who's going to be invited to that? How many people are going to be there? How are we going to identify the individuals for the Zoom meeting? Is it going to be another mass email the way that it was, or are we starting to target and specifically inviting people? Because just saying we're having a party doesn't mean that anybody's going to show up. You know, we need to say, we need your voice. We need to hear from you, you know, and this college needs to hear from every board member. If you have not filled out the survey, take the 15 minutes, because it didn't take 15 minutes to fill out. The quality to me is going to be the most important thing. And I do appreciate the efforts that are being put forward. And I don't want it to seem otherwise. But I feel less pressure about a January 1st deadline than I do about putting out a product that is going to say, this is our strategic plan for the next 2 years, whether that's March of 26 and I understand because of budgeting, I understand those things. But we've gone a year without a strategic plan, and we're operating. So if we have to push things back so that we get the product that we need for that next step, we'll be okay. You know, and that's what I'm looking for from this process. But these numbers are abysmal. It just, you know, I just can't say it really any other way.
John?
I have a question. Sorry, 1 second. Can you just share with me the publications that you've missed so that we can work on?
Yeah, there are 5 UAW locals with retiree chapters in the Flint area, and I missed every one of them.
Okay.
Now, they share a common publisher, but they have different deadlines. I received permission from the executive boards and leadership of the various locals to get it done, but based on their time, because their meetings in the middle and third week of September. So I got permission, and they're like, yeah, call the publisher. And I look at it, and the publisher says, well, we're not going to put anything out until October 5th. That's when the next paper comes out. Well, I'm already 2 days late at that point. You know, now I've asked for social media. I shared it on my social media, and I've asked my family to put it on their social media, and I'm pressured the hell out of my family to take the survey. And, you know, I mean, short of watching them do it, they've indicated that they have done it. So I'm looking at some of these numbers, and I'm going, well, somebody might be lying to me, you know, because these numbers do not reflect what we should be seeing. And so, and Rockman Publishing is the publisher of those. You know, I'm in the process of going to plant leadership through the local unions to get in-plant papers to publish this. But they tend to not do that because we're an outside organization and they want to focus on things that are within the walls of the plant. And in my instance, I say plant. It could be whatever workplace. So I'm getting some pushback on that. But that takes a little bit of time. You know, and so by the time I get it done, it comes out on Friday, it's due Monday, we've missed opportunities. And in my facility alone, there's 5,600 people that work there. You know, and a lot of them have come through Mott, or they know somebody who's come through Mott. So, you know, I'm dissatisfied. I appreciate the information. I'm dissatisfied with where we are and what it looks like, where we're heading in the short term. But that's my input.
Thank you. That's a lot of good feedback. And the other area that we're going to be looking at is going through the records from our last strategic plan to evaluate how many people did we survey when the 2022 to 24 survey strategic plan was developed. So we're sure that we are at least taking into consideration as much input and consideration as we did with the last one.
I understand that, but just based solely on the comment that you made about the last strategic plan just sitting up on the shelf, that apparently to the administration isn't good enough. So then we need to do better than what was done before.
It was very there was a lot. It was very complex. So I think we'll continue to work with the Studer team, and we will evaluate the last process and do a direct comparison to understand how that plan was built, how much input was received, and what the process was that was used.
Well, I think that's worth looking at from a historical point of view. That doesn't mean it should be our guide. That just ought to be that's how they did it. And if that was a screwed up product, then that maybe we ought to do better.
One data point.
Okay. The second thing is that we need to take a look and be sure that when one of the areas that I want to be sure that we do touch on is we're dependent on the support of voters and for our millages, and they need to be included because I can't imagine a worse scenario than to come up with a strategic plan that's not supported by the majority of the voters. And that's an area that we need to really take a hard look at.
That's an excellent point. I mean, that isn't, because in our last meeting, I believe Larry had talked to us about when we would potentially be looking at an operating millage coming forward. If we're not seeing support of the voters at this point, what are we going to? That just makes the climb that much harder for us when we're going to these same individuals and saying, now we need something from you. We need something tangible from you. So, yeah.
And thanks for underscoring that. Part of, in this, we probably should share this with you, but part of the work of the executive team was to align their contacts with the different stakeholder areas that you all mentioned in the committee of the whole. And in that, there are neighborhood group email lists that I think is probably that one way that the leadership team saw in connecting with that larger community effort, as well as the social media efforts. One of the things, just to hit on the point of quality too, in timeline, one of the things that we as a company are focused on is the best interest of the partner, right? And our goal in all cases is to provide whatever outcome of quality. So you will not get anything less from that, and we'll work within whatever guidance you provide us to get there. But our goal is absolutely to provide be a quality partner and provide quality output.
Thank you. Kenyatta, go ahead.
Thank you. So for the listening session that's coming up September 30th and October 3rd, is it?
October 6th.
Okay, October 6th. Will there be materials available for those so that the information can go out widely? I wasn't aware of the listening circle that was on campus until really late, and I didn't see any material in the community. So it would definitely help if we can have that information beforehand.
Absolutely. It's actually on social media now, so we can circulate it through our Facebook right now, and we can send out more information to the board too.
And the website, right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
And available through that link that is on the cards.
The October 30th and the September 30th and October 6th is on the QR.
I know it's on the social media. Let me check to make sure it's on the website. But yeah, it hasn't posted on social media.
It's supposed to be updated on the website today, everywhere. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. All right, board comments. Kenyatta? Yep, Art?
Go Lions.
I'm sorry you missed the beginning of it. John?
No.
Santino?
Yeah, I just want to thank the board for allowing me for the opportunity to serve. For our first meeting, I think it went pretty good. We got a lot of information to the public, a lot of learning, a lot of new stuff as it goes, and I appreciate that, and to the community as well. I appreciate you guys paying attention and giving feedback. I want to give a special thanks to Tom. I think he left. I know he was here for a little while. Congratulate him on his award, and congrats Julius and Kennedy as well. And kind of for a follow-up with the SPAC project, I met with Julie, who I think was on that student committee last year today, and she was telling me that the projects are really cool and actually impact. So if we can get a follow-up on what they decide to do as their project for this this quarter, semester, however they do it, and kind of feedback on that would be awesome. So appreciate it.
Candace? No? Kenyatta, anything?
No.
Nope.
Thank you.
Yep. I just want to say again, Santino, we're so proud to have you on board with us. I think you're going to make a perfect fit. And also the SPAC, the Student Presidential Advisory Council, I was blown away today. I had no idea how in-depth it was and everything that they did. And then when the one lady said, the lady that spoke there, she said the main thing that they're working on right now is to strengthen student experience. I thought that was awesome. And I can't believe that they dedicate 20 hours a semester to this. That's actually a lot if you think about what's going on in their lives and their and with their college and everything going on. So I was blown away by that. All right.
Sorry, Wendy, I just thought of something.
Yes.
If you get the opportunity, please make donations to the Foundation for Mott Community College and check with your employer. GM just started matching on some of the stuff. And so I've been giving all along, but they just started matching up to $500 a year. Yes. If you're not employed, then just double the amount you were gonna give and then pretend it's from the employer. So, you know, but it's worth checking into if you're employed.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 8:40.